You know what I think would be fun is to take this type of body shape, which is obviously an offset shape reminiscent of a lot of classic Fender designs, but to do some Gibson-y things with them, like bind the top. Well, there isn't really a top on this, it's just a one piece. Well, it's a laminate, but you know, there's no separate top. So bind the body and do some, I don't know, maybe dye the body red, which, I don't know, feels like more of a Gibson than a Fender thing to do. Put a Tune-o-matic style bridge on there. Mix things up a little bit. So that's what I'm going to do with this guitar. So I kind of just kept experimenting with this. I did say that I would bind the edge, bind the top, which was kind of a Gibson-y move. Truth be told, the binding channel didn't quite go as I had planned. It was still usable, but it got me thinking about other things that I might do with the top instead. So using a combination of bits and then my sander, and there were plenty more hand sanding to do. I've now got something which is, I mean, it's very nice. It's not where I anticipated this project going, but it's kind of almost a carved top, carved around the edges anyway. Less carved than a standard carved top, but partly a carved top. Not quite as carved as, say, a Paul Reed Smith guitar, but not particularly Fenderish. I guess it's just become a Monster Guitars guitar, and that's fine. Well, I decided that I really had liked the idea of binding, and I quite like the semi-carved look of the body, so I would just do both. So I've gone back over to the router table and put a single binding channel in. I guess that pushes things back in a slightly Gibson-y direction after all, because they've got lots of carved and bound guitars. So one thing I am quite sure on is that I'm going to put a Tune-o-matic style bridge on this guitar, which stands up higher than a lot of other types of bridge, like a Stratocaster bridge or most hardtail bridges or a Telecaster bridge. And for that reason, as I've commented before on other videos, you need to create a neck break angle. That is, you need to route the bottom of the neck pocket, if you're using a bolt-on neck as I am, that way, basically, so that your neck tilts back ever so slightly so that you've got a nice usable string action. And I'm taking kind of a shortcut way of doing that. Last time I did this, I was a bit more precise, but I'm just going to see if this works. I'm propping up the template. I made sure it was a nice long template covering the whole guitar body, even though the hole is just down this end. And I've propped up the template with a small piece of wood. Not quite as high as the bridge, I don't think. Or maybe. Yeah, it's about that big. And with the template propped up, of course, it's now on an angle, so I'm routing out the bottom of the neck pocket now, which means that I'm routing it out on an angle. You know, I've decided that I really should be precise about this. So I'm going to use the method for getting the break angle right, and it's a method that you may have seen back on, I forget the number of the video, I'll put it in a caption, when I was making the flame guitar. Feels like I'm racing through this build, but that's, I think, only because this neck has been sitting around for a while, and so has the body actually, although not contoured, and the neck pocket is something I've just done, but a lot of the big work has already been done. What am I doing now? Well, it's going to be a red guitar. It's going to be dyed red, so you'll still be able to see the grain coming through. And I want the scratch plate to be black. I think a black scratch plate on a red guitar looks nice. It also looks quite Gibson-y too. Some old classic Gibson hollow bodies have a black scratch plate on a red guitar. What other guitars do? Some classic guitars. Oh, Brian May's Red Special guitar also has a black scratch plate on red. It's just a good combo. So I will cut this out and route it to the template that I've just made. The time has come to bind the body. I use two methods of attaching plastic binding to the body. Mostly, I just put a little bit of acetone between the binding and the body and then press it on. Acetone melts the surface of the plastic, and then when you press it against the wood surface and the plastic dries, it effectively glues itself with itself to the wood. But if there are any fiddly bits where that's difficult, sometimes in tight curves, concave curves anyway, that's a bit tricky. And if it's not working, then I use this product called Weld On number 16, and that works quite well. Hopefully I won't have to use it, we'll see. That's satisfying, isn't it? Having the whole body bound. I will take the tape off probably tomorrow, address any gaps that are there, hopefully none, and then trim up the ends of the binding. I'm not going for any kind of burster effect or anything, so the intention was to apply just a uniform coat of red dye. That's gone fairly well. Of course, it's not going to look uniform. You know, different patches of wood are different colour. They have slightly different degrees of porosity. I don't know. It's not hugely porous wood. I haven't applied a grain fill because it's dense enough and not porous that that shouldn't be necessary. But that's gone fairly well. So this is some reasonably fine work. I won't try to do it while holding the camera, but I'm just taking the corner of a scraper and going around the top of the binding and scraping off the dye that has gotten onto it. It's coming off without too much trouble, so that's good.